democratic process, there's a great deal of anxiety and pushback around basic identity issues. We've seen it before, whether it's ethnicity, nationality, race, and of course, sexuality and gender. This is, as I said, it's happened before throughout history. And I think there's also a deeper anxiety, and this is kind of the psychotherapist in me speaking, around the idea of questioning who's making the rules in the first place. It's sort of questioning the parent and the parent's legitimacy to make those rules. So it's happening on two different levels. And gender, sexuality are one of the very popular targets. Not surprising, troubling, but not surprising.
What'd you bring up about masculinity? Because you think of the presidency, there's never been a woman. I mean, it's a very masculine place, the most powerful man in the world. What'd you bring up about masculinity?
Well, I think, first of all, there have been changing targets and ideas of what is meant to be masculine, and things that 100, 150 years ago were thought to be masculine, or 300 years ago when men were wearing stockings, obviously have changed over time. But there is something about drag in particular, and maybe theater more generally, which begins to point to some of the shaky basis of what we think are affirmed notions of masculinity, femininity, that binary. And of course, there's so much of an subjective experience these days on people's parts that maybe life doesn't really work that way, or doesn't work that way for a lot of people. It will be really interesting if we have a female president. Obviously, other democracies in major countries have had to, have the most powerful office in their country go to a woman, and so it's there's been a new definition of femininity as well.
As far as the politics of this, drag story hour, drag queens at schools and block parties, family-friendly drag shows, they became a lightning rod recently. And just for transparency, I've said on this show, I'm a dad of two, I'm gay. I've been to countless drag shows. They're usually not for kids. And that's the fun part, is they're not for kids. So if we're seeing a more explicit tie between Democrats and drag and all this, could that be a political Thor?
I mean, potentially, if the Republican side, if the conservative side wants to lean into the idea that somehow alternate sexualities and gender experiences, things that are alternatives from the cis heteronormative kind of mainstream, are also somehow dangerous. But the fact of the